Okay. Let's do this.
Let's go.
No one intervened on behalf of...
And now, coming to you live from atop the Goldenrod City radio tower, it's the one, the only, P.U.C.L TCGcast!
Hello, Pocolonians, and welcome to episode 66 of the P.U.C.L TCGcast. I am your host, Lord Yushiro, and of course, P.U.C.L stands for Pokemon Underground Champions League, a nonsensical name our fearless leader Thatch came up with, and we're just rolling with it. We're here with the big review of the newest set, Team Up, for Pokemon TCG, and surprised to say that this might actually be another home run for them. So we're definitely going to discuss those today. And of course, to do that, here with me, I have none other than two amazing co-hosts. First, some say that his computer has no backspace button because he doesn't make mistakes. Scrawn!
Hey everybody, I'm super excited to discuss this set and how absolutely awesome the whole teaming up synergy works in multiple ways.
Yes. And also with us here, some say that he is the only man to ever defeat a brick wall in a game of tennis. It's our Sigma.
The trick is going above it.
Yes. So, we are going to discuss Team Up, but before we get there, I have to ask you guys what it's been. It's a new year. It's a new show. It's a new us. There's a lot of awesome things that we have planned, or we're in the process of planning for this year, so I hope you guys are excited. But what have you guys been up to, wise? Scrawn, what's new with you?
Well, lots and lots of Pokemon Go, and also I got a first, in terms of real life stuff, I got into law school, so that's exciting.
Nice. Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, nice scholarship too and stuff.
Nice. Well, congratulations. I'm sure it's well deserved.
It's exciting because I will be able to move out and finally be able to stream again. Because right now I have awful Wi-Fi that can barely record.
Yeah. What about you, Sigma? What's new with you?
Oh, nothing much. I've been working more on the back end of the video game scene around P.U.C.L, so that should...
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty visible at this point, so...
What new things are planned for P.U.C.L soon that you can talk about?
Oh, well...
Sorry,
we've been starting these
awful.
battle clinics that have been going like twice a month now, and they've been pretty successful for the time being, so that's nice. And other tournaments are going as well. So everything's planned out for the year. We just have a few things left, so...
P.U.C.L isn't just doing that. If you're interested in making... Since this is trading card game podcast, we'll have a little thing coming up in February that everyone can participate in, and it's not a tournament, so you can put your creative mind to work for that.
Oh, that does sound exciting. Now, of course, we can't talk about tournaments and not give any announcements on the TCG tournaments that we are in the works. We do have tournaments coming soon. We are in the process of planning them. So for those of you that may be asking yourself, oh, apparently there's not going to be any TCG tournaments this year. No, we are definitely going to have a TCG tournament. We're just still in the details as to the when and who's going to be involved. And until then, I will more than likely provide you some information soon. So stay tuned for that. Well, but without further ado, let's go ahead and start this show with Topical Beach. So grab your towel because we're headed over to Topical Beach where we're going to discuss Team Up, the set review.
Grab your ice-cold Corsola Cola and pull up a chair. It's time for Tropical Beach.
And we are back. I hope you guys are ready to feel the wind in your face, the sun in your eyes, and the sand under your feet. It is Topical Beach, and we're going to discuss team-ups. This is the first set that introduces the tag team cards, which we've been discussing throughout the past shows. It's the newest thing since the Pokemon Championships, the World Championships. So But now officially they've been introduced into the game, and we're going to talk about how they measure up and if they're all that great. However, as we normally do, we're going to start with the trainers ahead of time, and this time we're going to start with some supporter cards we wanted to discuss, and then we're going to enter the cards that we individually chose to discuss and give our opinions here. So
And
let's go ahead.
Before we start, can I just sort of say something about Team Up in general?
Yes,
This
please.
set is super cool because we all know about how the TAT or the Team Up sort of mechanic works with the GX Pokemon, where you have like the little Pokemon and the big Pokemon, like Celebi, Venusaur, Magikarp, Wailord, stuff like that. But that's not all that Team Up is about. It's also about how the supporters work. You got like the Battle Shadowlanes, you've got Ingo and Emmett of the Battle Subway.
Yes.
Like all the supporters are teaming up as well. And you've also got like recursions of certain cards that we'll talk about. It's a really, really cool way that they've done the flavor for this set. And I'm personally excited about that.
Yep. It definitely is a new approach that they've decided, and it's a great theme for a set. And we've always clamored for more synergy in cards. I think it's one of my favorite. You've heard me in the past say that I just love when cards just have synergy. The Cynthia with Garchomp, for example, and stuff like that. I just love that type of synergy, and this set is basically a whole lot of that. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and discuss them. And let's start with four very interesting supporter cards that we wanted to talk about, and those are the newest additions to support, and that is Dana, Evelyn, Morgan, and Nita. So let's go ahead and start with Dana. Dana's a supporter card and says this card can be played unless your opponent active Pokemon is a Stage 2 Pokemon. Search your deck for 2 cards and put them into your hand. Interesting card.
It's not good though.
It's not.
What about
you,
if you
Sigma?
can use it?
Stage 2 cards are very rare to even be in an active slot these days. If you're going to have Stage 2s, they're typically sitting on the bench. The one I can think of, maybe, would be like Kabutops. It's probably going to see a lot of play. We'll be talking about that one later.
Yeah.
That's technically Stage 2. Another one, not even Naganadel, really, because that's Stage 1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like the whole Stage 2 either, and the fact that it has to be in the active. I love when, like, for example, Teammates, ironically. Teammates is a great example of how to do it right. If one of your Pokemons was KO'd in the last turn, then you're able to use it. I think that's an excellent way to put a rule on the supporter cards and give it a powerful ability. This one, I think, is just way too specific and it just doesn't work. What about you, Sigma?
Yeah. It's a strong effect. It just isn't on a strong card because the requirements are too steep and too situational to even.
3/4 of the time, you're going to end up with a dead supporter in your hand. Next one we've got is Evelyn.
Yeah.
It's another supporter. You can play this card only if your active if the opponent's active Pokemon is a Stage 1 Pokemon. So again, you have no control over what they have in the slot unless you're switching it out into that. And it's draw 4 cards. So it's, and in my opinion, it's not even much better than like how Sharon.
It really isn't.
Yeah, it's just so much of the time. It's so time specific, and you're only getting 1 extra card out of it.
Yeah, it really isn't. What about Sigma with Morgan?
Yeah, draw 4 isn't as powerful as you'd want on an effect this determinate. So
yeah,
you should probably talk about Nita first.
Yeah, that was my
Nita?
plan.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I was gonna skip Morgan for the time being because we have Nita, a supporter that you can only play if your opponent's active Pokemon is a basic, which, to be fair, is a lot more likely than the other 2. But the effect is put an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon on the top of their deck.
This is a significantly better card because it slows the opponent down. If they are dead in the hand and they don't have any forms of card acceleration, like with Zoroark or something, this is, oh man, like you can really just shut down your opponent. But again, that's very situational and really not that good.
I see this being a great turn 1 card if you have it. I
Turn
don't know
2.
why would you play this other than aside from Lilith or any other better turn 1 cards. But it's still a great disruptor for a turn 1 if your opponent has a basic and it has an energy, and then you force that energy out of it and on top of your deck, you're forcing your opponent to basically lose a turn of energy acceleration. That's pretty powerful.
Well, typically, if it's like the first turn, they're probably holding like a Cynthia or Lily in their hand anyway, so it really doesn't do anything until the late game. But
it means that he lost a turn of energy established. He put in energy, and then you got rid of that energy
that's
on top,
true.
So
that is true.
That's part of the benefit of being turn 1 is the fact that you have more. You come up with energies faster than your opponent. One turn faster because you have that one head. This will get rid of that advantage and just put you guys both in the same. You playing second now have more advantage. It's basically like you starting turn 1 when it comes to energy acceleration.
And the fourth of the battle Chatelaines, which I know I'm pronouncing that completely wrong, is Morgan. And Morgan is the reason why you'd run any of the others, really, because her effect is actually really cool, but you have to run all of the other battle Chatelaines. Did you want to read it, Chishira?
Yeah, just go ahead. It's Morgan. It says, this card can't be played unless you discard Dana, Evelyn, and Nita from your hand. Look at the top 12 cards of your deck. Attach as many energy cards as you find there to your Pokemon in any way you like. Then shuffle the remaining cards into your deck.
That's cool.
That is a powerful... That means 12, that's a fourth of your deck right there.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah.
Well, no, it is, because you draw...
Lele synergy, really, because you can search for the supporter you don't have in your hand and such. You can get those all in your hand, and then, like, for a Blacephalon or, like, Charizard deck or something, you blow them up with energy, or even, like, Wailord, really.
Yeah. But the downside is you have to fill your deck with all of these bad cards, and then use them all in one shot.
Yeah, because you're probably going to have to run at least 2 of each, because one will probably get prized, at minimum. And then, like, sometimes it still might not work, because they might both get prized. It's really just, they're funny. It fits the whole team-up synergy, and it's like, how else would they integrate these cards? They're never going to see play, probably. Yeah. I mean, I could see, like, them seeing play in Japan and a highly specialized deck list with, like, super energy acceleration. We get all the supporters in one turn, Like, that would be super cool. Like, I think they have potential, but it requires basically a whole deck.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just too much space on your deck for what they do. Granted, Morgan sounds powerful, but there's way better ways to accelerate your energy without having to use so much space in your deck for this. So overall, let's just go ahead and give them overall a review. I do not think these cards are really worth playing them for their power.
No, they're not.
I'm going to go ahead and give them a not very effective for all 4 of these. What about you, Scrawn?
I'm going to give them a mildly effective, because I think that if an expert is using them and builds a deck around them, then they have a lot of technical potential. But they're not crazy good, because the average person who's like building a deck probably wouldn't be able to do it right.
Yeah.
So I'd say mildly effective.
Yeah, no, they're not very effective. They make you have to build, like, a bad deck. Because even if you do get a Morgan off, your deck still has to be stacked with energies in the right spots. So you have to be running a bunch of energy on top of running these, like, 8 of these cards. So
yeah, it's just So there you got Dana, Evelyn, Morgan, and Nita. It almost sounds like a verse from Mambo number 5. What they are is the newest supporters for team-ups, and they're not good in general, but they look like they could be a lot of fun in a just messing around type of deck. But now we enter to the actual meat of this, and this is the cards that so our formats right now in how we do reviews is that we each pick our top 6. And we're going to discuss them, so let's go ahead and start that. We are going to start again with the trainers and move on to our favorite card that is number 1 for each one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and start with since we're going on the theme of team-ups, let's team these 2 cards together. We got Lavender Town, the Stadium, and Sabrina, called Sabrina's Suggestion. There's a reason why these 2 work together, and we're going to go through them right now. Lavender Town is it's a stadium card that says once during each player's turn before their attack, that player may have their opponents reveal their hand. So as you guys know, that's a really, really powerful ability. The fact that each player it works well because both players can use it. It's not like you overpowering yourself to just see your opponent's hand. So that's a lot of power for one card. Then we have Sabrina's Suggestion as a supporter. Your opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a supporter card you find there and use its effect as the effects of this card. Basically, it's a copycat that just copies onto whatever supporter card your opponent has. What's interesting, great team up with Lavender Town, is that you would know whether or not to use it. If you use Sabrina Suggestions alone, you might run into the situation where he might not have a supporter card for his turn, or he might have crappy supporters, and you could have used one of your own supporters that wasn't Sabrina that might actually been better for your turn. So Lavender Town eliminates that that need or that gamble that you're playing there by giving you the opportunity to look at your opponent's hand before and determine if it's worth using Sabrina's Suggestion. By themselves, let's go ahead and discuss them. Let's start with you, Scrum. What do you think about Lavender Town?
I think there are better stadiums. Honestly, I don't see the combo being worth it, because you can just put the trainers you want in your own deck. It gets really technical. I think they're actually really good cards, but I personally wouldn't use it. Don't get me wrong. This is really good because it helps you catch up to an opponent who's having a really good day, but it's not something that will help you win whenever you need to get that final push in a game. It's going to help you catch up to beat an opponent who's doing well already. Okay.
What about you, Sigma?
Yeah, I don't think they're that strong, because we just have a lot of strong supporters around right now. And you could just build a deck with those instead of having to rely on an opponent. Lavender Town by itself, though, is a little more interesting. If you're more of a control player, then, hey, maybe seeing what's coming in their hand, you'll know when to Team Skull Grunts them. That would be fun.
Yeah,
things like that.
Yeah, Lavender Town would have really good synergy with that.
Mm-hmm. So I could see Lavender Town being seen in those decks, because there's another stadium later we'll talk about that they'll probably be running too, but it's a Prism Star, so they can't run 4 of those.
So let's go ahead and give them review separately. Lavender Town, I think, deserves an effective. I think it's going to work really well in not just any deck with Sabrina, but in any deck that is Disruptor card. Like you just said, Grunt cards, you can basically know how to when to use them before you actually use them. So that's a great advantage. I'm going to give it an effective. What about you, Sakron?
I'm going to give it a not very effective, because in Pokemon, people take their turns separately, so I don't see the value of knowing what their hand is as much.
Okay. And my boy Sigma, what do you think?
I think Lavender Town leans closer to effective for me.
Okay, there you go. And Sabrina's Suggestion, I'm going to give it a not very effective, mostly because why would you want to use your opponent's? If this Sabrina's Suggestion was, look at your opponent's hand, pick a supporter, use this as your effect, and then discard that opponent, your opponent discards that card, then
that would be crazy.
A super effective, right?
Oh, that's absolutely wild. That's absolutely insane.
Exactly. But your opponent gets to keep that supporter. So you use the effect on your turn, but then their turn, they're just going to use it also. So you're really not preventing him from doing it. So for that, I'll just give it a not very effective. It could have been a lot better. I like the combination with Lavender Town. I just don't see really the effects by itself. What about you, Sigma?
Yeah, it's not very effective. Depending on your opponent's ability to play cards is not usually a strategy you want to use. So, yeah.
And Ron?
I give it an effective because this seems like the type of card that you could really tip a fedora to.
Yeah. I like that. There you go. So that's our first reviews from our top 6, Sabrina and Lavender Town. Let's move on to the next one. Scron, take it away.
Yep. I have Erica's Hospitality. It's another supporter card. Obviously, it's based on Erica taking you into the gym and, giving you some perfume and stuff. And this card has a condition, and it's you can only play this card if you have 4 or fewer cards in your hand. And you draw a card for each of your opponent's Pokemon in play. So basically, it's a version of Colress that's worse, but it's still good. As a draw card, it's nice because you can generally get 4 or fewer cards in your hand, especially if you're running a fire deck or something, or a grass deck for Erica. And it also limits your opponent's ability to get a whole bunch of Pokemon on their board. I don't think this card is going to be terribly good because we're going to have Kabutops and Amistar running around, which don't like having a lot of Pokemon on their board. But I do think that it will see play in some decks, because it will let people draw more cards than they might normally with, say, Lily or Cynthia. It'll let them have more cards in their hand.
Yeah, I do like Erika Hospitality. It does remind me like half a colorless. Colorless, of course, does the same thing, but with all Pokemon in play instead of just your opponents.
Yeah, it's also shuffle.
And it's also a shuffle card where you shuffle your hand back. This one, however, is you draw more cards. You can only use it if you have 4 or less, which is something to take into consideration. If you have 3, if you have 3 cards in your hand, and one of them is Erika Hospitality, and your opponent has 2 bench Pokemon, 3 bench Pokemon, that's 3 extra cards. But at the same time, you could have just played Lily, and it would just bulk you up to 6 anyway.
I do think this is going to be seeing more play than Lily, because if the opponent has at least 4 Pokemon out, then this is doing the same thing as Lily, and if they have more, then you get more from it.
Yeah. No, my point is more, this would be a one-off in a deck more than if you're having 2 or 3. I don't think people will create strategies around this. I think if it's beneficial and you have an opponent that is playing lots of Pokemon in his bench, then you would play this. Otherwise, you would play any Lily or any other card that will help you draw support a little bit better, and not having to worry about how many Pokemon your opponent has.
And thinking about it as well, Lily is better because of the first turn condition where you can draw up to 8.
Yeah, you probably run like a mix of this and Lily. Is what I'm thinking it'll be.
Yeah,
specific.
I'm thinking
situations.
like play 3 Lily, maybe one of these.
Something like that. 2 and 2.
I think it should take some space out of your Lily. If anything. So let's go ahead and review this. Scrum, what do you give this card?
I give it an effective.
An effective from you, Sigma?
Yeah, it's an effective.
I give it an effective as well. I think it is going to see a lot of play. It's a one-off in many, many decks. Moving on to the next one, we have our Sigma. Take it away.
All right, so this is the one Prism Star I think we have on our 3 lists, because the other ones are super linear. This one at least has other strategic implications to it. So we have Wondrous Labyrinth Prism Star. It's a Stadium Prism Star. So if you remember what those do, you can't remove them through items. You have to remove them through attacks or playing another stadium. And the effect of it... Oh, and it goes to the Lost Zone. So you can't reuse it with Lusamine. The ability is the attacks of non-fairy Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's, cost 1 colorless more.
And that is powerful. Very powerful.
Yeah.
Continue on, Sigma. As in, what do you think about this card?
Oh, well, if you're playing a fairy deck, then yeah, you're probably playing this card, because taxing your opponent's attacks is a major pain in the butt. If you ever played against Team Flare equipment, which only lasted 1 set because it's a terrible, terrible design.
Team Flare, for those of you at home that don't know what it was an item card you could play on your opponent's Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it would do exactly this. It would make the Pokemon that tool was attached to have to pay 1 extra colorless for their attacks, and it would completely... So many decks are built around the perfect math of the energies. Like, they know how many double energy cards they need. They know how many energies they need. And any disruption in that, adding an extra payment, colorless being another lightning or another colorless, is just so much pain. And this stadium does it to the whole team, not just one Pokemon. So it is an extremely powerful card. And if you're playing Fairy, I think you need to be playing this card.
Oh yeah, Fairies it's great in. But Stall, it also... also will lead this up, because you just play it down and it slows their attack if they can't find a stadium.
Yep. What about you, Scron?
What do I rate it?
What do you think about it?
What do you think about it?
I think it's great. I think that people should be running at 3 to 4 stadiums in their deck, so most of the time people will be able to get rid of it, but like, if you can't, then that's a huge burden on you. It sets you back big time. I think it's a great one-of to have in any deck.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and rate this. Starting with you, Sigma. What do you give it?
I'd say it's super effective.
I say it's super effective as well. Scrawn.
Super effective for fairy decks. That's what I should have said, because it's only for fairy. Right.
But, well, you can run it in decks that have no interest in attacking too.
Yeah,
that's true.
Just stall decks. So there you have it, guys. Our very first across-the-board super effective Wondrous Labyrinth Prism Star. It is a very powerful stadium, and you definitely have to get a set of it, meaning one, because it's a Prism Star.
It'll be dirt cheap. It's great.
I got a playset of those. That's great. All right, you want to talk about Ingo?
What was that?
You want to talk about Ingo?
Yes, that's where I'm heading. Now we're going to go to our number 5 card. In my list is another trainer, of course, and that is Ingo and Emmett. And I chose this card because I like this. It started out, as far as I remember, with Giovanni's scheme. I think it was called Giovanni's Plot or something like that. Where it's supporter cards that you get to choose what you want from them, and I think I love that a lot. And this one is particularly interesting. Ingo and Emmett is a supporter card that does the following. Look at the top card of your deck, and then choose one. Discard your hand and draw 5 cards, or discard your hand and draw 5 cards from the bottom of your deck. I love this.
Yeah, and just so people know, Ingo and Emmett are the battle subway conductors, and they represent black and white. One's always smiling, and one's always frowning.
Yeah.
So they're opposites, essentially.
Yep, and I love the fact that you have the opportunity to draw upon below. We have Oranguru, sorry. Oranguru, thank you, sir. That allows you right to grab from the bottom of your deck as well, if need be. And this is just a way better than having to take a space off your bench for this. Not to mention that we still have Looker. And Looker allows you to that.
Well, Looker draws from the bottom, too.
Mm-hmm.
Oranguru really puts the things back onto the bottom.
Exactly.
So you can draw
the discard
those.
Pile. Yes. So it's just Ingo and Emmett. I just love the opportunity to be able to draw upon the bottom of my deck if I feel like it. And it even helps you a little bit by allowing you to see the first card in your deck that you're about to draw and know whether or not, do I need this right now? Or should I just grab the top bottom? Remember, this doesn't shuffle your deck. And that's really important. You can grab the top 5, and that card that you just took a look at, you know you have that for your next turn. So that's why if it's a card that you say, I'm actually might need this better next turn, it's not such a priority this turn, let me just draw upon the bottom of the deck and see what we have there. I just believe that's a fun ability and something that could be really useful. Scrum, what about you?
I think this has great combo potential with decks that want stuff to be discarded, because you can just dump your hand with it.
Yeah.
That's often underrated. Discarding is seen as a downside in many carry cases, but if you have a deck built around it, then it's a great thing to have. So I get this card. Yeah. I actually... I'm on the border of effective and super effective. So I'm just going to give it effective.
Okay. Sigma.
Yeah, it's just another draw card. It's probably competing with Sightseers, or Sightseer. Because it also lets you discard... You could discard your hand with that one and draw 5 cards, but you could just draw up to 5 cards anyway. So, yeah, it's just an effective for me.
So I'm going to give it an effective as well. It is definitely a fun card. It is a useful card. And it isn't a card really that you could say you can live with. Well, it is a card you can say you can live with it or without it. However, if you chose to live with it, you can make a lot of great strategies using cards that already exist, such as Oranguru. And Looker. So there you have it, guys. That's Ingo and Emmett. It's a very effective supporter card in this set. Now comes the juicy stuff. Well, actually, no, not yet. We are going back to Scrawn.
Yep. I'm going to talk about another stadium, Viridian Forest. And once during each player's turn, that player may discard a card from their hand. If they do, they may search their deck for a basic energy card, reveal it, put it into their hand, and shuffle their deck. Now, a lot of people may say, this benefits the opponent too much, but a lot of really high-tier decks maybe run 1 or 2 basic energy, and then the rest are DCs. So if you're running a deck with a whole bunch of basics, this lets you compete against them, and it's super good. Mm-hmm. This card is going to see a lot of play, I guarantee it, in the right decks.
Yes, I agree. I see this being played a lot in fire decks, which require a lot of fire energies. So being able to just replenish these when you need to. And Scrum hit the biggest point. Why this card might actually see a lot of play is because there's a lot of decks that just depend on special energies. Only those double colorless energies. Only those the 3-in-1 energies that we have that they are one of 3 types, but only one. These does not have this supporter. Stadium doesn't help them in any way. So it actually well played. It could actually be really powerful. The fact that you might just draw upon an energy every turn is incredibly, incredibly great. Sigma.
Yeah. It also another thing to note is it helps decks that are running multiple types of basic energy.
Also, yeah.
Yep.
Like that's usually really hard to do because getting the right energy at the right time can be a challenge. But when you're able
not
to
to mention that if even for decks that require you to have those energies in a discard pile, you can just discard any card, draw upon the energy you need, and then use it the next turn to discard that energy and so forth.
Yeah,
it might be a long way around to do stuff, but it is possible to get the stuff in your discard pile that you need. Never underestimate. Like I even see this in cards like maybe Grand Ball, for example, which might actually not need that those extra energies since it only uses fairy, and that's you only need 1, but you're able to discard something every turn. And being able to discard that pesky last card on your hand. Of course, Grand Ball, for those of you that don't remember, that's the one that for 1 fairy energy you can hit for 160 if you have no cards in your hand. Like
do you have to search for
you can fail to find it.
Oh,
you can bail. Yeah.
Wow.
If they do, they may. That's the key wording there.
Oh,
they
that's
may
super
search
great.
your deck for your basic energy card. So you could just discard a card, look at your deck, because you can still look at your deck and say, and check whatever you want, and then say, actually, I don't want an energy, or it fails, and just put it back, and you didn't draw anything, you discarded something.
Yeah, and then you just shuffle your deck.
Oh, Grand Bull, I need to make that deck.
Oh, it's so much fun!
Bark, bark! I'm on the road to Viridian City!
It's such a great deck, and this card enhances it even more. The fact that you could just discard those pesky cards. Like, if you have a single Ultra Ball, you can't do anything with an Ultra Ball in your hand. It's like, I don't have 2 other cards to discard, but I do have Viridian Force, which let me just discard this Ultra Ball and just attack with 160. So, I love it. Of course, Sigma, what do you give it first of all?
I think I might lean on effective because a lot of the decks that will want to be playing this are right now playing like 4 of Shrine of Punishments. And so it's kind of rough to put more stadiums in those decks. But it's fine. It'll probably see play. So I'm going to go effective.
Scrawn.
Super effective, 100%.
I'm going to go with Scrawn too. Super effective. I just see, even though right now, yes, maybe we have decks that depend on other stadiums for them to be really good. And yeah, Shrine of Punishment is one card that if you're not playing GX, you just have to play Shrine of Punishment. For the guys at home, that's the card that if you have GX, EX cards, everyone that has GX or EX cards, they take 10 damage between turns as long as Shrine of Punishment is active. It's a powerful cards that can balance the power between GXs and non-GXs, so takes priority. But if you can squeeze a Viridian Force into your deck as it seems useful, I think it's super effective anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we're done with those trainers.
Oh, no, we're not. We still have one more. I have one.
Oh.
All right, because this one's dumb. Judge Whistle. It is it is an item card, and it says choose one. Draw a card or put a judge card from your discard pile into your hand.
I love it.
Like, it doesn't even take up a card slot in your deck because you just replace it immediately.
It likes to cycle. Yeah, it's a cycle card for sure. And it does have that added tech.
Yeah, if you have to play unknown hand opponents, it's like, oh,
uh-huh. Yeah, you can run like 2 judges and then like 3 of these if you really like messing over your opponents.
I mean, you might as well just run 4 because it doesn't count as a card in your deck. You're playing with a 56 card deck if you're playing Judge Whistle.
Basically.
Like, it is a dumb card.
It is a very dumb card.
I need me some secret rare Judge Whistles. Oh, that's good stuff.
Scrawn, what do you give? I'm sorry, Sigma, what do you give this card?
Oh, it's super effective.
Scrawn.
Effective. Effective.
I'm gonna give it an effective as well.
Yeah.
Almost leaning to super effective, but effective. I usually just play one judge card anyway. So I don't see how it's really upping that amount of judges.
Well, my reasoning is that sometimes you do want to fill all the spots in your deck rather than just thinning out cards. Like, I understand the reasoning behind having cycle cards like this in your deck, but I like having the variance in your deck and then building a cycle mechanic around having the ultimate amount of variance so that you can deal with any threat. Rather than having a tighter strategy, which is what this will account for.
Yep, that sounds legit. Now, let's move on to the next one. And now, ladies and gents, we do start finally with the stars of the show, and those are the Pokemon. So let's go ahead and start with my first one, and that is surprising. As surprising as it is, it's Charizard. Charizard, it comes back for the 80th time in the TCG, and this time might it be an actual good card? Well, let's go and read through it. Charizard, being a fire with 150 Stage 2 non-GX Pokemon, has an ability and an attack. Its ability, Addictive Drive. Once during your turn before you attack, you may put 2 damage counters on this Pokemon. If you do, search your deck for up to 2 fire energy cards and attach them to this Pokemon. Then shuffle your deck. Its attack is called Continuous Blaze Ball, with that costs coincidentally or on purpose 2 fire energy. It does 30 plus damage. Discard all fire energies from this Pokemon. This attack does 50 damage for each card you discarded this way. If you only have 2, that means it does 130. If you have 4, it does 230. Weakness to water, resistance to none, and a retreat cost of 2. I like the fact that this Charizard...
It's a GX Slayer.
The fact that it can get its own, despite of how much damage you take.
Yeah.
By getting those energies that you like. The fact that you can just auto-replenish its own energies and deal a ton of damage with not that much need in reality is extremely powerful. The math is perfect. You can use you can use Addictive Drive, grab 2 energies. That means the Charizard has now 2 fire energies to do his Continuous Blaze, and then use your turn energy to add another fire energy to Charizard. That means it has 3 energies. That means it hits for the perfect amount of 180. Just enough you need to take down a normal basic GX. That is pretty powerful. Its downside is that it is a Stage 2, and now we thought that we got rid of the whole, now evolutions are super good, but now I think we're returning to where basic GXs is where the money is at, and that might be an issue.
Especially with team-up Pokemon. Like, yeah, this can really take out it can help you gain an advantage against your opponent big time.
Yeah. So, let's start with you, Sigma. What do you think about Charizard?
I think it hits the right numbers. I actually like it quite a bit. It's between effective and super effective. I'm just going to go effective with it, but it could prove me wrong and be super effective because that's a strong attack and it builds on itself. So,
yeah. And Scrawn.
Addicting Drive is really good. It's very much on the cusp of just effective, but I am going to say super effective because of that ability. It does need good synergy in a deck to be good though. Still,
yeah. And Fire does have a lot of synergy right now, so I do see it. It might actually see a lot of play.
When I rate a card, it's typically based on how good it can do by itself on a standalone basis.
And that's actually very fair. Yeah, that's a very fair way to review it. And I'm actually in the verge of either super effective or effective. If we didn't have team ups now, if the tag team Pokemon coming out, and we were still depending on Stage 1 GXs, and we're still looking at a lot of Stage 2 GXs, I would have rated this a whole lot higher, I guess. I would have been an automatic super effective. The fact that we have so many basic GX now that have higher than 180, they start out with 200, 230, 250 in some cases. I don't know if it's the same usefulness, and because of that, I'm going to give it an effective and not a super effective. If it weren't for that, though, amazingly powerful card. It's the Charizard that for you Charizard lovers out there, fans of Charizard should be happy, because this non-GX Charizard is actually pretty darn cool.
I think it's in a theme deck too, so.
Which is, it makes it cheaper to get acquired.
Oh, yeah.
So guys,
those theme decks for a team up are great.
Oh yeah, they are.
Charizard's a cult. You guys should be celebrating today. We have a great Charizard. Moving on to the next one. Take it away, Scrawn.
I've got Ninetales. It's actually not another Alolan Ninetales, which sort of fits the whole team up thing, because we've had a lot of Alolan Ninetales love, not enough normal Ninetales love. It has 100 HP, it's a fire type, and for 1 fire and 2 double colorless, it has a 90 damage attack, and its ability is what you're really going to want to go for, though. It's once during your turn, before your attack, you may discard 2 fire energy cards from your hand, and if you do, switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with their active Pokemon. And there are quite a few cards like that. I don't think there are too many for fire right now, if any. I think this would be great in a Naganadel deck that's fire-themed.
So Blacephalon.
Basically, yes.
Yeah. I love that ability. I think discarding 2 energy cards, 2 fire energy cards specifically, might be a little bit pricey. But you are getting a Lysander every turn. Do you know how much your opponent's going to hate you? With the fact that every turn, if you have the energy available for it, you can go ahead and put whatever you want as their active Pokemon. It's pretty, it's pretty powerful. You get to choose your opponent's bench Pokemon, which is different from, other cards like Escape Rope, for example. You could play Escape Rope and your opponent gets to choose what to put in the active. This allows you to put in the active. That's a Lysander. That's a powerful, powerful card. And you can use it every turn as long as you have the energies to do it. And Fire Energy is known that it's discarding all the time, but it also has a lot of support to get those energies back. So I really like this Ninetales. If you're playing Fire, I think it's just stage 1. It's worth the space on your deck just for that ability. What about you, Sigma?
It's a little pricey for my liking. Discarding 2 energy. Because, the only deck I could think could find a spot is the Blacephalon Naganadel decks, because they want to discard fire energy all the time. So their Naganadels can pick it out of the discard. So that's like the only place I could see a home for it. But it is a strong effect, so.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and review it. Scrawn, it's your card. So what do you give it?
I give it an effective.
There we go. I'll give it an effective as well. Because I agree with both of you. It's just it's a great ability, but it might be a little bit too pricey. What about you, Sigma?
I think I'll go effective as well.
There you go. Effective for Ninetales. If you're playing Fire, you definitely should be playing this baby. Now, let's go in and move on to the next one. Sigma, what's your first cards?
Well, we have fossils for us. So at the beginning of the podcast, we may not have mentioned that there were some bannings in Expanded recently. And these are probably the reason for losing Maxie's Hidden Ball Trick. Well, 2 of these are anyway. So let's start with Omastar. It's a fighting type with 130 HP. It's a stage 2 that evolves from Ammonite, and its ability is Fossil Barrier. As long as this Pokemon is in play, if you have fewer Pokemon in play than your opponent can't play any item cards from his or her hand. Its attack doesn't matter. It's a fighting in a colorless for 60 damage, whatever. It's weak to grass, no resistances, and its retreat is 1. Because
it's a Vileplume that only works against your opponent. I mean, if you want to talk about power, this right is its power.
It does require you to have a smaller bench than your opponent.
Mm-hmm. But that's always more in your control, what you can control on your bench, than depending it only depends if your opponent has fewer Pokemons than you. Yeah. Although that technically you could control too, because you could just keep adding to your bench. It's a little bit difficult though.
Mm-hmm.
So achieving having less Pokemon than your opponent, that's pretty easy most of the time, honestly. What about you, Scrum? What do you think?
It's great. Having cards that let you not play items, have the opponent not play items specifically. Like, normally these cards shut down both you and your opponent, but this just shuts down your opponent. That's incredible. Like, we've seen decks like Vileplume and Garbodor, and, like, those are always top tier decks because of that effect. And this just shuts down your opponent. That's easily super effective.
And not only that, I mean, Trevalanche, that would do this as well as an ability, would only do it if it was your active. This can work just as better in your bench. Yeah. That was a purposeful pun there. It's in your bench. You don't have to have it as an active like Trevalanche is, and it doesn't affect you like Vileplume does. The only problem is it is a stage 2 fossil Pokemon, and we know we have a saying in this show: friends don't let friends play fossils. But if fossils start looking like this, I'm gonna let my friends play fossils because
let's just pretty powerful. Yeah, these fossils are teaming up.
But let's not review Omastar yet. Let's go through the rest of them, and we can then jump and review them. So next one, Sigma.
Next one is Kabutops. It's also a fighting type with 140 HP. It evolves from Kabuto, and its ability is Fossil Memory. As long as this Pokemon is in your active position, your opponent can't play any supporter cards from their hand.
What
is this? What is
Not
this?
Just items. This is the deck you play if you just want to tell your opponent, I don't want you to have nice things.
Or I just don't like you.
Yeah, basically.
And I want you to start not liking me because I'm not going to let you play anything.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's even if it's fine that it's in your active. Your opponent can't play supporter cards. That's amongst the most powerful cards in the game, and you're neglecting your opponent from playing those. What? It's incredible. Anyway, continue on. Sorry.
Anyways, since this thing actually has to be in the active, its attack is a little more important than Omastar's.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, but luckily it's a fighting in a double colorless for 80 damage, and it does 20 to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon.
80 on the active, 20 on 2 of your opponent's bench. That's a great attack. One choice band does a clear 110 to your active GX or EX.
Mm-hmm.
It's a stage 2. That's the real issue. But 140 is a very, very nice amount of HP. Way better than 130. The benefit that Omastar has is that it's in the bench, so it's difficult. I mean, it can still die from a sniping Greninja GX, but who plays Greninja GX?
Well, you try.
I try. I know. I pity play it. Anyway. It's great math, it's great damage, and it's an incredibly powerful ability. Weakness to grass, which you cost 2, that's fine, doesn't matter. Continue on, Sigma. Give us another one.
Okay, well, Aerodactyl is not like the other two, because it's actually an offensive fossil. Unlike the other two that are disruptive fossils. It is a colorless with 130 HP, stage 1. It evolves from the unidentified fossil that we've been seeing for, like, the past year. So, whatever. Its first attack is for a colorless supersonic. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. But the real thing is the triple 3 colorless for Fossil Fang, 90 plus damage. If you have no Pokemon GX or EX on your bench, it does an additional 90 more damage. That is 180 damage for 3 energy.
If for a not GX Pokemon. Yeah.
No, if you don't have a GX Pokemon. Like, you build your deck.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the whole fossil theme, really, is you're regressing yourself in order to regress the opponent.
That's a great way of looking at it, yeah.
Yeah, that's totally what it's about. That's totally the theme behind it. They're making you fight more as, like, an ancient person would, with no outside help. You can only use the abilities of your Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. You're really good at looking at the flavor of this card. I like that.
Well, what I really like about Aerodactyl in this case is, well, it is a fossil, and you can kind of have Team Fossil going on here, but Kabutops just needs to be your active Pokemon whenever it's at the end of the turn. So you could Guzma something out, Aerodactyl it, then retreat for just 1 on Aerodactyl back to Kabutops.
Except you can't.
That's the thing. Turn. You can put Kabutops as the weakening one in your opponent's in your active. You're doing some damage and preventing him from using any supporters. I mean, while Kabutops is in the active, your opponent can't Guzma you. You know, your opponent can't do anything to bring out unless they play counter catcher.
But if you have Omastar, they can't do that.
Exactly. There we go. If you have Omastar, they can't do that. The only thing they will be able to do is if they play the Ninetales we just talked about, they could technically remove it. So Kabutops is safe. Well, in quotes, safe. It can just be killed, but it's safe and you're active. And then doing damage to your opponent's bench, and then you can just bring Aerodactyl out and finish off whatever already has damage in it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only negatives I see to Aerodactyl. The 130 HP, although it's a stage 1, that's pretty high for a stage 1. So many Pokemon do 130 HP, 30 damage just as their normal attacks. That could knock this out. That's a negative. And I don't like that Fossil Fan costs 3. I think it's fair that it costs 3. My issue with it is that it's colorless. So 3 energies for 180, I think it's not that bad. But I do like the resistance to fighting, which will protect you from those still very well relevant Buzzwolves. And the retreat cover of 1 should not be taken lightly as well. Mm-hmm. You can retreat this baby out and put back your Kabutops by just eliminating one of your fossils. So I guess I regret that, what I just said about the energies. The fact that you can retreat it by just 1 and it uses 3 energies, I like it because you can leave your double colorless energies intact on it. Just discard whatever extra energy you have on it, and then put it back in and put an additional whatever energy you have to make it attack again. I like that. I like the synergy with this Aerodactyl more than I thought it was. Me talking about it made me more excited than when I originally read it. So
the setup for this deck is pretty expensive though, because you got all that fossil action that you got to take care of first. So you need a good engine. What I might do to facilitate that
so much from Talonflame. But we no longer have that. Continue on, sorry.
Yeah, I definitely would run Viridian Forest in this deck, oddly enough, because you do need a way to get those energies out consistently to facilitate the switching, and also pumping up, like, Kabutops and such, in case you do need to attack with him. You also need rare candies, and you probably don't even run the middle evolution. You might, like, run one Kabuto, one Ammonite, and then, like, just 4 rare candies, because you're not going to want to run 3 Pokemon anyway, at more than 3 Pokemon at any time because of Amistar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So Sigma, do you want to review these all together or separately?
I think they could probably go separately because you don't need to play them.
They really need to be separately because by itself, some are better than others.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and do that. What do you give Sigma? What do you give Omastar?
Super effective. It's not too hard to set up. Alone, it's not too hard to set up.
Amistar is definitely the only super effective I'd give out of them, because the item shutting down is just so important.
Okay, I'm definitely giving Omastar super effective as well. The stage 2 is an issue. The fact that it's a fossil is an issue, but that power is very powerful. So if you can get to it, you are, my friend, already in the winning stage. Next one, real quick, Sigma.
Kabutops, I would go... Yep. It's between super effective and effective for me, but because it has to be in the active, I think I'm leaning more towards effective.
There you go.
And effective as well, because it can't be splashed into any deck, and it requires that fossil synergy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and effective as well. Even though its ability is incredibly powerful, never underestimate the power that blocking your opponent's supporter cards. The fact that it's a fossil and it's a stage 2, right?
Yes, it should be a stage 2.
It should be a stage 2, but it says here it's stage 1. Sorry, that's why am I confusing here. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a stage 2. Though both are an issue. But 140 is a good number to have for the active, so it could survive 1 attack, which is important. And the fact that it's attack but spread damage is also really good. So effective all around. And then lastly, Aerodactyl Sigma.
So I think it's a really strong, because it can be accelerated energy-wise by most Pokemon that can accelerate energy.
Yes.
So when you build a deck around it, doing 180 is not hard, and getting the 3 energy on it's not hard, and you don't need the rare candies like the other 2 need. So, but I don't think you play it with the other 2. So I think this is a super effective.
There you go.
I would agree with you if it was a basic, but it is a stage 1 and you have to have the fossils in your deck, so I'd say effective.
I say effective because of what's called that, and also because it has exactly 130 HP. And right now, like I said before with Kabutops, 130 is what many Pokemon have. that can knock out an active. They call them 2-hit KOs attacks. For in the case of Aerodactyl, it is a 1-hit KO because 130 is what it has. Okay, there you have it, guys. The fossils are coming back, and they're actually good. So I am going to most definitely build a fossil deck, and this is going to be. So stay tuned for the stream while I build these decks. Now, moving on to the next one. That'll be back all the way up to me, and I have a different tag team style Pokemon, and that is Pikachu and Zekrom GX. Now, this tag team up has looked a lot better ever since it was first revealed, and slowly it's beginning to be one of my favorites. Pikachu and Zekrom GX is a lightning basic Pokemon that has HP of a 240, which is ridiculous amount of HP. It has 2 attacks. Its first attack, Full Blitz, for 3 lightning energies, 150. Search your deck for up to 3 lightning cards and attach them to one of your Pokemon. Then shuffle your deck. That's a heavy energy acceleration there, which is pretty powerful. And it does great synergy with its GX attack, which says Tag Bolt GX does 200 damage. And it costs 3 lightning energies normally, but if you do have more, specifically, at least 3 extra energy attached to it, in addition to its attack's cost, this attack does 170 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. It should read better as, if you have at least 3 extra lightning energies, you can free KO a Tapu Lele from your opponent's bench. That is pretty powerful. Its weakness is to fighting, its resistance is to metal, its retreat cost is 3, and of course being a tag team means that if your opponent knocks it out, he gets to draw 3 prize cards instead of just 2. Some say that these tag team cards are really a gamble. You're putting all your eggs in one basket. But this basket, though, is really big. And it's not made of straw. It's not made of straw. It's a basket made of aluminum.
It's a big basket.
It's a big basket. And it's a basket with a lid and some cushion on it. Because 240 HP is not easy to do in one turn. And the fact that I keep repeating this to the tag team naysayers, the fact that Acerola exists is a big deal for these cards. Because you can eject them from danger whenever they are in danger. And you can most of the time see it coming because of how much gigantic HP they have. 240, who does? There are cards, don't get me wrong, that do all 240 damage, 250 damage in one go. But they're rare and far between. Few and far between. So this card can eject itself with Acerola whenever it needs to. It does 150 damage for just 3 lightning energies. And it allows you to not just set up yourself for your Tag Bolt GX to do its maximum damage, which is 200 on the active, which will knock out most cards that are not stage 1 GXs and above. But it will also guarantee you knock out 170. That knocks out most everything except 180 GX Pokemon and up. It's a really powerful. I mean, imagine this. With Tag Team Bolt, you can technically get 4 prizes in one turn if you pull it off. By knocking out a GX on the active and knocking out another GX on the bench. One turn, 4 prizes. That is crazy powerful, and I really like this card.
It's really good. Volkner exists, so yeah.
Yes.
So we'll see play.
Yeah, it's strong. Overall, what do you think?
I'm so... In the current state of the meta, I think that too many things have high enough HP that this won't be able to knock out stuff in one hit most of the time. So,
really?
By itself, yeah, because everything has over 200 HP now that's like a main attacker. I do like the GX attack a lot, but again, that's the GX attack, and there are a lot of good GX attacks.
But remember, though, this is a basic Pokemon. Well, those stage 1s and stage 2s that have more than 200 HP is coming in, this guy is already down and ready to go.
Except
it's a good card, but like I think that some of the other GXs, the tag team GXs the team up GXs are better. I would give this an effective Leering on super effective Leering.
Okay. Sublime. I'm sorry. Sigma. So many S's in my co-host that I get the S's mixed up. Go ahead.
So on the one hand, I don't think anyone's been using the Lightning Magnezone yet, so maybe this is the card that makes them. But
sure.
On the other hand, I don't think this is the weakest tag team, but I think it's probably the second weakest. Its HP is...
Really?
Yeah. It might be the
Go
third.
ahead, sorry.
But you do need to be playing Magnezone to get it all really set up, because just because it's a basic, it still needs to get those 3 lightning energies onto it, and that is not an easy feat to do. So, and then for the GX attack, you have to have survived a round 2. Lycanroc's still in the format. It doesn't KO Zoroarks easily. So, yeah, it's just effective for me.
Interesting. Well, I'm still gonna call it super effective. I think it's gonna be really good tag team, and I think a lot of people might actually think about making a deck around this.
Yeah.
Choice band is a thing. Remember that Lightning does have that item card, and you might actually help me remember its name.
Electropower.
Thank you. Which gives your Lightning Pokemon 30 more damage, meaning that it just deals so much more damage. I mean, if you have a choice band and use that item card, that means that your full Blitz actually does
180.
210 damage. So it just has a lot of support. I'm gonna super effective. I really think this actually might see a lot of play. What about you, my friend Scron?
I said effective.
Oh, you said effective? Sorry, I didn't hear you. And there you go. You got 2 effective and 1 super effective for Pikachu and Sucrom GX. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next one.
Moving on.
Away, Scron.
We're going to do another teaming up duo here, as it seems it was designed to be. Incineroar GX and Nanu.
Oof,
Oh boy, out of all the cards in this set, like, from an unbiased perspective, Incineroar GX is probably the best in my... like, just looking at it, like, that is crazy. Its ability is Scar Charge, and once during your turn, you may put 3 damage counters on this Pokemon. And if you do, search your deck for up to 3 Dark Energy cards, attach them to this Pokemon, and shuffle your deck. And it has 2 attacks, both cost 3 energy exactly, and remember, you basically don't have to set this up at all, because its ability sets it up for you. Crushing Punch, which is 130, and lets you discard a special energy as well from your opponent's active Pokemon.
Wow.
And then it has a GX attack that's also 3 energy. It's 10+, and it does 50 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. And if you remember the ability, we put 3 damage counters on already. So at minimum, it's doing 160 damage with that.
Wow.
That's a little bit much.
Oh, wait, what does Nanu do?
So Nanu, looking it up real quick, has great synergy with Incineroar. And what it does is it lets you choose one of your Pokemon in play, and you can search your discard pile for a basic dark Pokemon and switch it with that Pokemon. And of course, all the stuff stays on it, so it's kind of like a Ninja Kid or something. Yeah, except you're getting it out of your discard pile, and then you discard the first Pokemon. So what would be some cards you could work with that?
The big one is Hoopa GX, which I don't think we have on our list, but...
Well, even then, like, find a basic non-GX Pokemon. And then just start attacking with that. They get 1 less prize card when it's KO'd.
True.
And then keep in mind that there's also that Prism Star that just came out, Black Market. If that's in play, and they discard and they defeat one of your dark Pokemon, they take 1 less prize card from that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have that in play, and you use Nanu to get a lower, like, a non-GX dark basic, then they take no prize cards from KOing it after you've dealt all that massive damage.
Wow.
So
what do you give this card?
Oh, Incineroar? 100% super effective. Nanu by itself, I give an effective.
There we go. What about you, Sigma?
Yeah, I'm in the same house. And Incineroar sounds like it's going to be doing some fun things, so I can give it a super effective.
That is wild.
Yeah. Nanu.
Same thing with me. It's super effective for Incineroar. It's crazy how self-supporting it is. Just putting your, like Charizard, the fact that you're doing damage to your own card. Yes, that is an issue. However, nowadays it's all about knocking 1-hit, 2-hit KOs, and most of the time 30 and 20 damage doesn't really change the fact that you need to 2-hit KO or 1-hit KO. Very rarely it turns into, it could damage you. So it really isn't that much of a setback, and I really do enjoy it. So super effective for Incineroar, effective for Nano as well. And with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Take it away, Sigma.
Alright, we have Jirachi. It is a metal Pokemon with 70 HP basic. What we care about here is the ability. Let's face it. Its ability is Wishing Star. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, you may use this ability. Once during your turn, you may look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Choose a trainer card you find there, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. This Pokemon is now asleep. Its attack, metal and a colorless, does 30, we don't care about it. A weak to fire, resistant to psychic, retreat is 1.
So, this is interesting. What do you think about this, Sigma? Why did you choose this?
So, it's probably one of the best cards in the set, because we also have the tool card that we got a little over a year ago called the Skateboard. It lets you retreat while you're under status, and it lowers your retreat cost by 1. So it has free retreat and can get out of there after it gets its trainer card.
Interesting.
Yes.
I like it. Yes, you're right.
There are also decks that'll run Pokemon with attacks that can strafe out, like Umbreon's attack, but we're not running Umbreon. Umbreon's bad. But they have attacks like it, where they attack, they get out of the active, you can put Jirachi in the active. If it dies, oh well, it's a basic. It's not your GX Pokemon. You can attack again next turn with your GX. So
yeah, the fact that it's an ability and not an attack makes the world difference here. Mm-hmm. You don't need to leave your Jirachi in the active. It is a pain that it has to be in the active. It is not a pain, however, the fact that you can just use its ability and go, and then, like Sigma said, just retreat back to your bench. The fact that you can pick a trainer from the top 5 is pretty amazing, and I like it. I like this Jirachi. It's pretty powerful, and it definitely has the support for it to just be alive when you need it. The fact that it's weak to fire, doesn't matter because we only have one deck right now.
You only have 70 HP anyway.
Yeah, you're gonna die. Your weakness doesn't matter.
It really doesn't. But the retreat cost of 1 does great synergy with the skateboard, so I love it. What about you, Scron?
I don't like that it relies on having an item equipped to it to be able to retreat for 0. Otherwise, like, if it had a retreat cost of 0, 100% super effective, but it's requiring your deck to run stuff. I don't think those are bad things to run, though. So that's why I'm kind of on the fence, because, like, those are things that you see in a lot of decks. And I do think that finding any trainer specifically, rather than just supporters, is incredible. I'm gonna say, as a rating, super effective, yeah.
Yeah, super effective for me too. I mean, it has way to retreat for free. It's not only, I mean, you can attach a lightning energy, and if you're using Soroora GX, it can retreat for free. And there's so many ways that you can just get rid of this that it really doesn't pose much of a hassle. Yeah, and that's why I like it, and the fact that you can choose a trainer even more so. So yeah, Jirachi, you're a great card. So I'll give it a super effective as well.
Yeah, another thing you can use with it is Dawnwing's Necrozma.
Also, yeah, Dawnwing Necrozma, which for those of you at home that don't remember, that has the ability that basically whenever it's in your bench, you can choose for it to be in your active, automatically retreating whatever you have in your active. And it's a basic, so you don't even have to run anything. You can just run a Darkwing Necrozma for its ability to go in, charge in, rush in, they would say. It has so much synergy that it's just going to work really good. Super effective for Jirachi, guys. Get yourself a set list, and you're definitely going to see a lot of Jirachi going around. Now move on to the next one here, and it is one of my favorite ghost Pokemon. My favorite ghost Pokemon from different generations. My favorite ghost Pokemon from Generation 1, which is not that much of a deal because we only had one real ghost Pokemon. And then my favorite ghost Pokemon from Gen 7. It is Gengar and Mimikyu GX. Another tag team combo. Now, Gengar and Mimikyu GX is a psychic Pokemon with also 240 HP. It has 2 attacks. First attack, Poltergeist for 2 psychic energies. 50 times damage. Your opponent reveals their hand. This attack does 50 damage for each trainer card you find there. And then you have Horror House GX for 1 Psychic Plus. Your opponent can't play any cards from their hand during their next turn. If this Pokemon has at least one extra Psychic Energy, well, aka the same amount needed for Poltergeist, then each player draws cards until they have 7 cards in their hand. Its weakness is to darkness, its resistance to fighting, and its retreat cost of 2. I chose Gengar and Mimikyu because I see a lot of actual good in them. Poltergeist is a really strong attack, just costing 2 Psychic Energies. You can deal 50, and if your opponent has just 2 trainer cards in his hand, that's 150 damage you're dealing there for 2 Psychic Energies. If they have 1, that is still 100. If you have a choice band attached to it, that's 130.
I think it's 50 times, not 50 plus. So it would be 50 damage for just 1 and 100 damage for 2. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yes, you're 100% right.
Yeah,
so,
but since it is any trainer cards, so stadiums, items, supporters, they all count toward this, and if you use the GX attack before then, they're locked into their hand, basically. Yes, exactly. So it's great.
Exactly. And if you have Lavender Town, you can actually take a peek before you do to see if it's actually worth it to do
you're going to do it either way. Yeah. For 100%.
So, I really like Gengar and Mimikyu GX, so I want to know what you guys think about it. What about you? Start with Sigma.
You know what's fun to play with this card? Omastar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
The big issue I have with this card is it's weak to Zoroark.
Yes.
That's a problem, but...
And Zoroark could knock him out in one go if your opponent managed to get all his Pokemon, that is his 5 bench with the active. He does exactly 120, which is exactly the amount needed to knock out the Gengar and Mimikyu. Of course, he could do it as well with 1 less Pokemon in his bench if he does have that choice band. Yeah. So it is... Zoroark might actually knock this thing out, but it needs to be almost to full power to do so.
Yeah.
What about you, Scrum? What do you think?
It's good. I don't think that it's... I think it's... I don't like it.
Okay.
I'm just giving it an effective.
Okay. Effective from Scrum. I'm going to give it a super effective. I think this has a lot of... it's my second favorite tag team, honestly. And I think it might do well. So I'm going to give it a super effective. What about you, Sigma?
I think I'm ineffective on this one, too.
Ineffective as well?
Weak to Zoroark is a big thing.
It is a big thing. So there you go, guys. 2 effective and 1 super effective for Gengar Mimikyu GX. Stay tuned. Get yourself 1 or 2 of these cards, because I really do think you're going to see a lot of play. They're definitely powerful cards. You just need to know when to use them. Now, moving on to the next one, Scron.
I put this 2? One in here kind of as a... I thought it was cool, and it fit the whole team-up synergy as well, because this is actually basically a reprint of the Alolan Marowak from Sun and Moon, where it was a fire type. However, it's the same card, except it's a psychic type instead. And just a reminder, it has an ability where you can, whenever you play it, you search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards, attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like, then shuffle your deck, which is pretty good.
Ability, though.
No, that's an attack.
Oh, that's an attack. Yeah,
it's an attack,
right?
But continue on.
And the other attack is...
wait, so Limbo, it's an attack, but it's cost 0. It doesn't cost any energy. So
yeah, that's what it is.
Continue on.
And Alolan Club is 20 times, and this attack does 20 damage for each of your Pokemon play that has Alolan in its name. I really like the Alolan Exeggutor theme deck, so that's why I put this in here. I think that the Psychic Alolan Marowak hits a lot of the really powerful attackers, like all of the Necrozmas, for double damage. So it's something that you might consider in an Alolan deck. If you have, say, 6 Alolan Pokemon on your bench, and then you hit an Ultra Necrozma or Donween's Necrozma, that's like near a KO to a KO.
I really like the Limbo. It's a great setup if you're able to get this at turn 2, and you're able to evolve your Cubone into a little Marowak. Then you can just use Limbo to power up whatever you need to power up on your bench. I really like that. It is an attack, though. It does take a turn, and it doesn't do any damage, and all of those things are worth taking into consideration. I do like its Alolan Club. Feels like it could go well on an Alolan Exeggutor deck.
And there's a new Alolan Executor as well.
Yes.
So that's something to consider. And it's actually a really good ability because it lets you, I think it lets you discard your hand and then draw 6 cards every turn. So
what about you, Sigma?
Yeah, I prefer using Malamar as a way to get your energy sped up in a psychic deck. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
But it's an Alolan party.
Though it can get any energy, it looks like. So
any
has
energy,
that going for it.
As long as they're basic.
Yep. But yeah, I'm not too high on the card.
There we go. So what do you give it, Scrawn? It's your card. What do you give it?
Oh, it's a normal effective. Maybe
effective?
On the lower end, yeah.
Okay.
It requires too many cards to be good.
Yeah, I give it I give it a not very effective. I like what it does. I just feel like right now that type and other Alolan just do better. So I just gonna give it a not very effective. What about you, Sigma?
Since I've been giving the 2 tag teams you had effective rating, I don't think this is in the same league as them, so I'm gonna go with just a not very effective one.
I mainly put it in there for the team up thing. Yeah.
Oh no, dude! When it comes to guys who put cards there that they suck, but you believe it's good, I'm the champion, so don't worry about it. Okay, moving on to the next one. We have what's your number 2, our Sigma?
So this one might sound weird because I actually originally put this on the list for a joke because I like the Nuzzle deck that doesn't exist. But then Shamu brought attention to me that PokeBeach had their review up and it was giving this thing 5 stars. So we looked into it and it's actually really good. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Do tell.
We have Emolga, the lightning Pokemon with 60 HP. It's a basic Pokemon and it has an ability, which is most of what we care about for the card, called Nuzly Gathering. Once during your turn, before your attack, you may search your deck for a Pokemon with the Nuzzle attack, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Its attack is Nuzzle, which means it gets to search out itself. You flip a coin if it says your opponent is paralyzed, weak to lightning, resistant to fighting, but its retreat cost is 0.
Oof, and that's juicy right there.
Yep. So, and I guess we'll talk about this now too, because this is back. It's a great card. We have Pokemon Communication being reprinted for the first time since Black and White era. Yeah, it's an item card. Reveal a Pokemon in your hand and put it on the top of your deck. If you do, search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. It's a really strong Pokemon searcher.
Yep.
So use the Emolgas as fodder for Pokemon Communication.
You can use it as Pokemon Communication. You can use them as discard. You look at them like they're Execute. Kind of like Execute, except you can't reuse them unless you're shuffling them back.
Execute's superior because it does have that advantage that comes back from the discard pile, while little old Emolga doesn't. But the ability to grain something to just discard, how many times do you feel like you have cards that you need to discard something, but you don't want to discard anything in your hand? Well, I have an Emolga for you, because it can get you what you need, so you can just discard it whenever you want. But that Pokemon Communication is actually pretty good. If you compare it, let's add to this tag team and make it a thruple, as they call it. You can add Pokemon Stretcher, is it called?
You play Pokemon Stretcher to get all your Emolgas
and
back.
then just put all 3 Emolgas back into your deck and rinse and repeat. You can just continue on to
discard your Emolgas,
grabbing those Emolgas and again discarding them as you wish.
Squirrel attack.
Yeah.
And unlike
you can just
inundate
your opponent with squirrels.
Unlike a lot of supporting Pokemon, Retreat of 0 means that if it's your starter, you don't care.
Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah. Or whenever you need to switch between, like, if you get KO'd and you need something to be placed on the active while you think what's your next strategy, Emolga's there for you. So it being in your bench is not that big of a deal, other than the fact that it only has HP of 60. And there where things might get a little bit complicated with so much sniping going around nowadays. But it is still a non-GX, so it only costs you 1 price if it does get knocked out. And you only really need 1 down, so I think it is pretty good for what it does. So let's go ahead and review this. Sigma, what do you give it?
I think I'm more on effective for Emolga, but Pokemon Communication is easy, super effective.
There you go. What about you, Scron?
This is on Emolga. Having a retreat cost of 0, plus that ability to just find stuff out of your deck, that's super effective. And Pokemon Communication, oddly enough, I'd say that Emolga is actually better. So I'd just say effective.
There you go. I'm going to have to go with super effective on both, actually. I like both cards so much. Yeah, you all said everything about Emolga. It can search for its partners. It has a retreat cost of 0. I'm a big fan of that, always. Not to mention that it does have that resistance to 20, although with 60 HP, what does it matter? But Pokemon Communication is also a really powerful card. Being able to search for whatever Pokemon you need normally costs 2 cards from your hand using Ultra Ball. This allows you to do it with just discarding 1 Pokemon from your hand.
And you're not even discarding it. You're just shuffling it back into your deck.
You just saw, exactly.
So you can pull your Emolga back afterwards.
Yep. Exactly. So it's pretty powerful. So super effective for both of them. So there you have it, guys. Both Emolga and Pokemon Communicator. Both super effectives on and off. So guys, get yourself. These are going to be powerful cards. Now, moving back, now this is where things get a little bit interesting, because now this is our number 1 choice for the cards that we want to talk about. And of course, it's my turn. And of course, you know where I'm going with this. It is Jolteon GX and Zapdos. And I love the fact that it's here, not because obviously that's what I was going to choose. It's the fact that Sigma knew that was going to be my number 1 and automatically placed it for me because he did our list. And we modified him. And he put Jolteon Zapdos as the number 1 for me. And I just love that Sigma knows me enough to be my best man in whatever whatever wedding in the future I might get into. Because he knows me all well too much. So, why these 2? Well, Jolteon not only is my favorite Pokemon ever in the history of Pokemon, but this card is also pretty sweet. Jolteon GX, a Lightning with HP of 200. That's HP of 200 on a stage 1. It's not as good as Ninetales, although Ninetales, but it's still pretty decent. No, who am I kidding? It's really not, but it's fine.
It's what we expect. It's 200 or 210.
It should be expected. Yeah, but its attacks is obviously where it goes. Its first attack, Electro Bullets, which I love the name of that, for 1 Lightning. Only 1, ladies and gents. And it does 30 damage to your opponent. And then this attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench. So 30 on the active, 30 on the bench for 1 lightning energy. Remember, this is a Jolteon that would evolve from an Eevee. If you put a lightning energy on it on turn 1, it will evolve into Jolteon. So if you start with Eevee and you put a lightning energy on that Eevee, it will become Jolteon on your turn 1. And you can attack if it's your turn 1 after your opponent. That's pretty insane and fast, as Jolteon should be. I love that it shows in its flavor how fast this Pokemon is. Now, if you feel a little bit like you need a little bit of humph of your attacks, you do have Head Bolt for 1 lightning and 1 colorless, and it does 110 damage. Nothing else, just the 110, but the 110 is not bad, considering that you put a choice band on this bad boy and does 140 for those pesky GXs, and you can 2-hit KO them.
You also have the Lightning Prism Star Stadium. That means you can attack with that for 1 energy.
For just 1 energy, that's correct, because that Prism Star Stadium allows you to be able to attack. In fact, you could use Electro Bullet for free.
Yeah.
Because you take away 1 lightning, not 1 colorless.
Yeah. Generally, that doesn't matter, because you're evolving the Eevee with that energy. But
correct, exactly. Normally it doesn't matter. But that Head Bolt, though, will be for 1 lightning as well. And then you have Swift Run GX for 1 lightning and 1 colorless as well, with thus 110 damage. And you say, why 110 damage for a GX attack? That's ridiculous. Why would you want to do that? Well, because prevent all effects of attacks, including damage, done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. Now notice the verbiage on that attack. Prevent all effects of attacks, including damage, done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. It says nothing about defending Pokemon. It says nothing about your opponent's active. That means that next turn, no matter how much he switches around, your Jolteon is still protected and cannot be damaged. Unless he Guzma, which is pretty possible. But still, I consider this. If you're able to do this on your turn 1 and turn 2, it is pretty powerful. And it really puts a hamper on your opponent by knocking out whatever you have and then preventing him from doing any revenge damage to you. Its weakness to fighting is big, its resistance to metal is decent, but best of all, its retreat cost, as Jolteon should be, is 0.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can't think of a better lightning starter Pokemon in your deck than this. If you are playing lightning, you might want to start with that Eevee turning into Jolteon on turn 1 and already being a force to be reckoned. This Pokemon may not be as tanky as it should be, but its speed is so fast that your opponent won't know what to do with it when it shows up so early in the game that he's still trying to evolve his poor Soroa into Zoroark. I really like it. And then we have Zapdos. There's a reason there's 2 of them. Zapdos being another lightning Pokemon, HP with 110. Now I said that there might be no better Pokemon you want to start with than Jolteon. I might put that to the test with our boy Zapdos here. It's a basic Pokemon with 110 with 1 attack, but its attack is pretty decent. Assault Thunder for 10 plus damage. If this Pokemon became your active Pokemon this turn, this attack does 70 more damage, and it's not effective by weaknesses. And you might be saying, wait. Just share what are you talking about? It's just Assault Thunder for 10 damage for 1 lightning, and it might do 80 if you switch it in. Why do you think this is any good? Well, the reason being because you're doing 80 damage in a meta where people are still evolving things. And 80 damage kills every basic around that is going to evolve. So thanks to Assault Thunder, and I'm not even counting choice bands here, I'm not counting anything else that would up its damage, with Lightning already has a lot of that. Assault Thunder can knock out every single basic Pokemon that your opponent needs to evolve in your first turn by doing that 80 damage to it. Its weakness to lightning, its resistance to fighting, and its retreat cut of 2 is something to take into consideration. But overall, Zapdos is, in my opinion, what you want with Jolteon, what you want to start a deck with, because they can do a whole lot of damage early on in your turn. And I'm going to stop talking right now and throw it to Sprawn. What do you think?
I think that Zapdos has viability, but only because of the existence of Zeraora, aka free retreats from other stuff. By itself, It's also really great with Jolteon, obviously. As a standalone, I don't like it. I like its synergy, though. I'd give it an effective as a reigning.
There we go. On that Zapdos. What about that Jolteon?
On Jolteon, super effective. Absolutely. Retreat Cross to 0 and Energy Evolution Eevee synergy, that's great.
Yeah, it's just so fast. It's the fastest thing right now that I can think of that can do a lot of damage real quick. What about you, Sublime? I'm sorry. Same thing.
You may not be Sublime, but you are Sublime.
You are Sublime.
I was going to say there's the power of editing, and no one will know that happened, but now he's throwing things in.
I will not allow censorship in my family-friendly podcast.
Anyways, I'm with Scrawn on it. Zapdos is just kind of effective for me, but Jolteon seems real strong.
So same thing with me, honestly, too. Super effective on Jolteon here. My boy does a lot of damage real fast. You can do Headbolt in turn 1 if you have that Lightning Stadium that allows you to be able to attack with 1 color Lightning LS. So it's just so fast that it doesn't matter that it has 200 HP, and it doesn't matter that it doesn't hit for 200 in one go, or 250 or 180 like other Pokemon. It does so much damage in the beginning of the game that it just will drive your opponent nuts. And Zapdos, same thing, but in a lesser degree, but it does have the advantage of just being a basic. Which is what I like. So effective for Zapdos, super effective for my boy Jolteon. And there you have, and that's across the board. Jolteon, super effective across the board. Guys, get yourself a set. I know I will. I know this is the deck I want to build when I finally have the cards. So stay tuned for that on the stream. So that's Jolteon and Zapdos. Continue on to the next one. Scrawn, take it away.
All right, so we're gonna be talking about 2 cards for this final last one because they do have good synergy together. The first one I want to talk about is probably my favorite card in the set. It was released before the whole set came out in a special box as a promo, and it's Magikarp / Wailord GX. And what's so cool about this card is that it's not so much teaming up as it is a Wailord trying to eat a Magikarp. Because it's so funny, because everything about this card just makes sense in that in that regard, because Magikarp can't do any damage itself. And you see that in the Towering Splash GX attack, where it's just 10 damage, and that's just the Magikarp splashing on you. But this Wailord, if you get enough energy for it, will splash up trying to swallow that Magikarp and land on you. And that's what's so funny about it. Even the art shows the Wailord trying to swallow the Magikarp. And we know Wailords and Wailmers love eating fish Pokemon. So anyway, with that theme out of the way, we can talk about what it does. It has 2 attacks. The first is a normal attack for 5 water energy, and it's Super Splash with 180 damage. And that's a sort of magic number in Pokemon, 180. It used to be that nothing was above it. Now we've got all these GXs with hella HP, but it's still a lot of damage for just a normal attack. And water is one of the best typings for accelerating energy super quickly.
Yes, we got Aqua Patch there that can get those in there real quick.
Aqua Patches, you got Quaganadel, Quagsire Naganadel, and new card as well, which we'll be talking about after this. And its GX attack is technically 1 water, but it's really 8 water, because in order to use it, you need 7 extra water energy, so 8 water. This attack does 10 damage to the main Pokemon, and then 100 damage to each of your opponent's benched Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's a spread attack. It is the spread attack, and stuff like Ninetales and stuff, like, I didn't bring it up earlier because I wanted to say the surprise, would not stand a chance against this. You just wash it out. Any basic Pokemon they have left, just go. A card they revealed that works really well with this in this set is Blastoise, and it has the ability where you can look at the top 6 cards of your deck, and attach any number of water energy cards you find there to your Pokemon in any way you like, then shuffle them. That's an alternative way to accelerate than just a Quaganadel. Although, personally, I prefer Quaganadel. I think I like the late game more of it, but from an unbiased perspective, Blastoise is probably better because you can just accelerate that quickly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's wild. I think the weakness to this deck is finding a good starting Pokemon to put out, because without running Quaganadel, and the nice thing about having Quagsire and Naganadel is that you can recoup your lost energy, and what this deck really likes is to run max potions, so that you can just, like, use Wailord as a wall for 3 turns or so.
I mean, how much HP does Wailord have?
300! 300! It has 300, yes. So, you get down to, like, 290 HP gone, use that max potion, then recoup all of your energy by the next turn.
Sigma, what do you think about this?
So, I think Magikarp Wailord is the best tag team we have so far. Not to mention, there's also a tool card that we're not talking about, that if it's attached to a Pokemon with 4 retreat, it increases the HP by 50 in this set. Like,
kidding.
Yeah, we don't really need...
Its weakness to grass. Let me just point out its weakness to grass. What grass decks do we have going on right now?
Celebi Venusaur.
And then?
That's basically.
There's some Sceptiles around, but they don't hit that. It's hard for them to hit that number.
Even with weakness, 300, what can kill this thing? Almost nothing can kill this thing in one go.
So, the other card we didn't talk about getting banned and expanded was Unknown Damage, because people would just use Team Magma Secret Base, or there's another one as well, where you get damage on playing a Pokemon, and then you have a Reuniclus that moves that damage around, and then you have Unknown Damage that wins the game if you have that much damage on your field. So, and Magikarp Wailord was one of the big sponges they threw damage onto in that deck.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I want to also point out that there's 2 different arts for this card. There's the Wailord and Magikarp and Wailord that is the big Wailord with a tiny Magikarp on top of it. And then there's the Wailord Magikarp card that has Wailord and really tiny in the bottom because it's by its spout, water spout, just throwing Magikarp into the air. So you see Magikarp is more the protagonist of this art, and then Wailord's is secondary, while the other one is Wailord's the primary and Magikarp's the secondary. I love that little detail there. They're both really fun to look at.
Are you talking about the full art where they're swimming together?
Yeah, there's 2 full arts in the set.
Yeah, there's 2 different full arts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a nice card. It's just it's just really nice. Anyway,
I love that the Magikarp's trying to swim away. Don't eat me, please no.
It's so good. So let's go ahead and review this. Scron, what do you give this?
Oh, super effective. I've tested it as well, even before like the Viridian Forest and Erica synergy hasn't come out yet, even without Blastoise synergy, and I still win like without even trying 5 games in a row.
Wow,
it's crazy.
Nice. And what do you give Blastoise though?
Blastoise, it's a really good card. I don't like that it's a stage 2, but you can't really control that. I don't think it's as good as Deluge Blastoise, so I'm gonna give it an effective Fearing on super effective.
Okay, what about you, Scron? I'm sorry, Sigma.
Well, I can say it again.
You can, because that's where I'm at with it too.
Yeah.
Magikarp Wailord's the best tag team in the set, in my opinion. It's a super effective easy. That massive HP stat is absurd.
Yeah, the same thing with me. It's just no way around it. Magikarp Wailord, just the HP itself, it's just worth of that super effective. Nothing. There's almost nothing, and I say almost only because I can't think of anything right now other than Venusaur and Celebi that could knock it out in one go. It's just too powerful, and and it's water. It does require a lot of energy to work, but water already is known for being so good at energy acceleration that do you think it really matters? I think it doesn't. So super effective for Magikarp and Wailord. And then that Blastoise is good, but like Scron said, it's just not as good as Rain Dance. Rain Dance, was it?
It was Deluge, but it's not in standard.
Deluge Blastoise. Yeah. So I'll give it an effective to that Blastoise as well. So there we go, guys.
We
have it.
We have one left.
Team.
Oh,
yeah,
you mean tag team?
What I mean is the first tag team card that got a full-blown super effective across the board. It is our boy here, Magikarp and Wailord. So
he's come so far.
We will definitely be seeing a lot of this. Now, for our last cards from our top 6, go Sigma, take it away.
All right, so the last card we have here is Ampharos GX for anyone who likes to play a Lightning deck. That probably still isn't very good, but it's a Lightning deck, so you're playing it. So Ampharos GX is a Lightning Pokemon with 240 HP. It is a Stage 2 that evolves from Flappy. Its first attack, for 1 Lightning Energy, Power Recharge, 30 damage, and put all Electropower cards from your discard pile into your hand. And Electropower is the item card that you play that boosts your Lightning Pokemon's attacks by 30 for that turn. Its second attack, 2 Lightning. Impact Bolt, 150 damage, discard all Lightning Energy from this Pokemon. And its GX attack, Lightning Energy, search your deck for up to 7 Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. I don't think that attack matters as much.
No, it doesn't. Whoever needs 7 Pokemon
right.
ever in your hand? I mean, unless there's something that tells, you do damage depending on how many Pokemon you have in your hand, there's no reason why you should be playing Electrical GX.
No. Weak to fighting, resistance is metal, retreat is 3. Probably doesn't matter because you're running Zero Aura, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when you have the Thunder Mountain, your 150 damage attack only costs a Lightning, which is really good. But
yeah,
it's a fun Lightning card.
It really is, and again, it just has that support. Electric Power.
Yep.
Adds an additional 30 damage to your attacks. So if you use it with, let's say you use it 1 turn with Impact Bolt, and you play let's say you play 2, you're doing 210 damage with 1 go there.
Yep.
Just discarding 2 Lightning Energies, and then you can just do Power Recharging the next turn and get them back for just 30 damage. It's good numbers. It's a good attacking Lightning, which really is what Lightning has been really struggling with lately, is the fact that they don't really have any main big hitters. They're all like very techie wise, but they're not big hitters. And I think Ampharos might reach that big hit style Pokemon that Lightning might be waiting for to build a good deck around that. What about you, Scrum? What do you think?
I want to know what kind of strategies use Electrical GX.
I don't know.
because like, it's just sort of there, and you're searching for 7 Pokemon, but by the time you have a Stage 2 GX Pokemon, you're probably not really needing to fill up your board. That's what I'm thinking.
If it were basic, I would understand it. You can play that GX in turn 1 and then grab all the basics and evolutions that you need. But this is on stage 2. Exactly. So you're already counting on this thing to be a couple of turns in order for you to pull it out. So I don't know what master is Electrical GX serving. I do not know.
I think it's a very good for the power recharge attack, but I'm not a fan of anything else.
Interesting.
To be completely honest, I don't like that it's a stage 2. I think that this would have made a better EX Pokemon. Because you can just put it down as it is, and then it would be fine. Like, that'd be really good. But you have to invest a lot just to get those whole evolution lines, and then you're basically just running Electro Power cards. You're going to have trouble finding a good engine to put in this deck because you got so much space taken up already.
Yeah. I mean, you're running Electro Powers in all of your Lightning decks anyway, so that's usually not too big of an issue. But
yeah. So what do you think, Sigma? This is your top 1. What do you give this?
Oh, I think it's just effective. Even that.
Yeah.
And
effective.
What about you, Scrawn?
Effective.
Effective for me as well. So there you go. Our first GX is a good effective. You might be able to figure out a good deck around this. And it's definitely a decent Lightning Energy card. So with that means it's the end of the cards that we chose review. Now, after the break, we're going to come back and discuss the honorable mentions before we end the show and talk to you guys the other cards that show up that is worth talking about, but we might not have chosen as our top 6. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Hey Puckalonians, it's Sublime Manic. Can't get enough of your favorite flip-flopping podcast? Then check out our social media. You can find links to our Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube all from our website, pucklepodcast.com. And you can join our Discord to hang out with your favorite hosts and other Puckalonians. Also, check us out at twitch.tv/thepucklepodcast. And if you have an Amazon Prime account, consider subscribing to our Twitch channel. You can also check us out at YouTube at YouTube/PucklePodcast. And we also have a Patreon if you're able to give anything at patreon.com/PucklePodcast.
Hello, welcome back, and now we enter the final stage of this podcast, and this is the lightning round where we're going to rapidly go through honorable mentions and discuss them while we give them immediate reviews, just so we can cover this set better. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and start with Shaming Prism Star. Shaming Prism Star only has 1 attack, and that attack is
this
Flower
attack
Power.
Yeah. Flower Storm with
Flower
2 grass
Storm.
energy. It's 30 times. This attack does 30 damage times the amount of basic energy attached to all of your Pokemon.
What do you give it, Scrawn?
I think it's cool, so I'm going to give it a effective to super effective. But
Sigma.
Effective.
It's an effective. It goes in Rayquaza decks right now. That's it.
Yep, effective as well. It does a lot of damage for 2 grass Pokemon, for 2 grass energy. Now, next we go. Effective for Shaming. Next, moving on to Tapu Koko Prism Star. Take it away, Scrawn.
Lightning type. HP 130. Basic Pokemon. You can't have more than 1 Prism Star card. Obviously, we know that. Abilities. Ancestor's Dance. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may use this ability to choose 2 of your bench Pokemon and attach 1 lightning energy from your discard pile to each of them. Then put this Pokemon in the Lost Zone. And it has a 2 lightning, 1 colorless attack for Mach Bolt, which is 120 damage. That's bad. 1 retreat cost. Ancestor's Dance is what you would use it for.
What do you give it?
It's good at energy acceleration for a 1-of, so I say super effective.
Yep, I say super effective as well. You never underestimate the power of energy acceleration. The fact that you can power up 2 with 1, and it goes to your Lost Zone, so it's not even a problem. That's great. Super effective for it. Sigma.
Yep, super effective. It goes in all your Rayquaza decks. It goes in all your Lightning decks. That's all you're running it in.
Yep, there we go. You only need 1, too. So next one, we got... Oh, go ahead.
Huh?
Playset for 1.
Playset of 1.
Playset for 1. We got the Bronzor next. Let's go ahead and take it away, Sigma.
Bronzor, the only thing you need to know about it is its ability. If you go second, you can evolve it on your first turn. Why is this important? Because there's an expanded Bronzong that gets to accelerate energy out of the discard.
Yeah, interesting. And then we got next we got what do you give this card though, Sigma?
Hopefully it brings back that deck, because I like any eel style of deck, and that was the eel style deck for XY. So yeah, I give it a super effective. It probably won't be that good, but hey, I like it.
Scron.
It's a good ability. Not good other than that, so effective.
Here we go. And I'll go in effective as well for the same reasons. Now we're going on to Jasmine Trainer. It's a supporter card that says, search your deck for a metal Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. If you go second and it's your first turn, you can search your deck for 5 metal Pokemon instead of 1. Then shuffle your deck. It's basically a Lilith-style supporter for searching metal Pokemon. It is actually pretty cool. I like it. I'm going to give it an effective. What about you, Sigma?
I like it in expanded. I don't think it does anything in standard right now, because most of your things need to be on turn 2, and you're going to be disrupted by a judge if you try to do it on turn 1. So
that's true.
On your first turn, because yeah, that's just how it happens. So yeah, it's an effective. Hopefully it goes in that bronze sword or bronze.
I think it's too much clutter to be good. I think there are better sort of metal trainers like Steven's Resolve, where you have that Metagross synergy. So I'd give it a not very effective.
There you go. That's Jasmine for you guys. Now we're going to move on to Lycanroc GX. Take it away, Scrawn.
The ability is Twilight Eye, and that's really all you need to know about it. When you play this Pokemon... Well, we'll also tell you the other stuff, though. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. I think that has existed before. This is just it's the middle form Lycanroc that added it. Yeah, and it has Accelerock and Radial Edge GX. It does 30 damage for each energy card in your opponent's discard pile, so it has that synergy with itself. It's good against decks that rely off of discarding a lot of energy, so fire decks. Accelerock is 120 for 3 energy, 1 is fighting, 2 are colorless. I think it's a reprint of something.
No, it's not. It's the one we never got.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's what is it? There's midday, midnight, and whatever this one was.
This
dusk,
is dusk form, Dusk form Lycanroc. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, there you have it. So what do you give it?
Lycanroc sees a lot of play, so I'm going to give it super effective.
There you go. What about you, Scron?
Scron just
Sigma.
went.
Oh, Sigma. Sorry.
Many times today. Many times. It KOs that Pikachu Zekrom. I'm giving it super effective.
Yeah, that's a good point. Not super effective for me. I was gonna give it an effective, but you just turn it around for me. So that's super effective for that. Sigma, what's the next one?
Next card is Nidoqueen. There's 2 parts that are important about this card. It's a fact. During your turn, you may search your deck for a Pokemon that isn't a GX or EX, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then it has an attack. For 3 colorless. It's a psychic type, remember, so it can easily go in Malamar decks. Its attack does 10 plus 50 more damage for each evolution Pokemon on your bench. If you have 3 Malamar on your bench, this is doing 160.
That's beautiful.
And you can easily search them up.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's great synergy with Malamar.
Yeah, I give it effective bordering on super effective.
I like... I'm biased towards any card that makes non-GX decks work, so I give it a super effective.
I'm gonna give it a super effective for the exact same reason. I just love when non-GX Pokemon are GX killers. It's just so good. So there we go. We have an effective bordering super effective, and then 2 super effective for Nidoqueen. Moving on to the next one is Hoopa GX. Hoopa GX has 3 attacks, and let's go through them. We got Rogue Ring for 1 dark energy. Search your deck for up to 2 cards and then put them in your hand. Then shuffle your deck. That's 2 any cards. That's actually pretty powerful if you do it on your first turn. Then you have Dark Strike for 160 for 3 dark energies, darkness energies, and this Pokemon can't use Dark Strike during your next turn. This is very reminiscent of the Lapras GX. And then you have Devil Hand GX for 3 darkness energies, and this is the GX attack. This attack does 30 damage to 6 of your opponent's GX and EX Pokemon. Don't apply weakness and resistance. You may choose the same Pokemon more than once, which is where it's important. If you guys know the math, that is 180 damage. You can redistribute however you want to your opponent's side. I think that's pretty powerful. I like it. I'm going to give it an effective. What about you, Sigma?
I think I'm willing to go super effective for it. It's got nice synergy with that Incineroar and Anu combo we were talking about earlier. Also of note, it has 190 HP. It's pretty good for a basic GX.
Yep.
So, yeah, good card.
Call me crazy, but I don't like it at all. I think it's underwhelming. I don't think it works very well with Incineroar because you tend to want to use that Incineroar GX attack. I think there are better things you can use. I'm going to give it a not very effective. There are better Koopa cards out there.
That's across the board. It's different reviews. We have effective, not very effective, and a super effective for Hoopa GX. So it's up to you guys to decide whether you want to play this card or not. Moving on to the next one. Scrawn, take it away.
Gyarados! It has 2 attacks. 1 water for Distilled Blast. It's 30 plus. This is the attack you want it for. Reveal the top 7 cards of your deck. This attack does 30 more damage times the amount of water energy found there. Then shuffle those energy cards back into your deck and discard the other cards. Hence, you're distilling the blast. So it will gradually get stronger as your deck thins out and becomes just energy. Hyper Beam as well. It has it's 3 water for 100 damage, and you can discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So that's not too shabby.
Yep, not too shabby indeed. What do you give this card?
An effective.
I'll give it an effective as well. Sigma.
Looks like a fun budget strategy. Effective.
There you go. They got Gyarados coming in and doing some interesting stuff.
It's average.
Move on to Sigma. What's the next water Pokemon we're going to talk about?
All right, next up we have Vaporeon GX. It's a promo that has already come out, but it's around the same time as the set, so let's talk about it. It's got 210 HP, which is notable for an evolution. Usually those only have 200. It has the ability where once per turn you may heal 30 damage on an active water Pokemon, and its attack is Hydro Pump. This attack does 30 for each water energy on it. It costs 3 colorless, and it starts at a 40, so if you have 3 water energy on it, that's 90 plus 40. That's 130 base power. Not bad. Its GX attack is heal all damage from your water Pokemon for a single water energy, it appears. And it's weak to grass, retreated too.
Pretty powerful. What do you give this?
Just effective.
Yep. What about you, Scrawn?
Yeah, it's an effective.
I say effective too. It's pretty stable. It does protect itself while doing some decent damage. It's not the end all though. So we're gonna go with effective across the board for Vaporeon GX. Let's move on to the next one, and that is none other than good old Eevee GX, which is colorless with 160 HP, which is the most powerful Eevee I've ever seen in my life. With 160 HP, it's just ridiculous, and its ability is pretty cool. Reviving DNA. Once in your turn, before you attack, if you have a card that evolves from Eevee in your hand, you may play on top of this card to evolve it, excluding your first turn or the turn this card comes into play. If you do, heal all damage from this Pokemon. Its first attack, Boost Dash, does 100 damage for 3 colorless. Its second and its main GX attack, Happy Maker, which is an interesting name, and you shouldn't have that if you owned a masseuse parlor. Costs 1 colorless and has search your discard pile for 3 energies, show them to your opponent.
3 cards. 3 cards.
3 cards. Show them to your opponent and put them into your hand. Then you have a weakness to fighting, resistance to none, and a retreat cost of 1. This sounds really good, but when you have a normal Eevee that can immediately evolve to whatever evolution you need by just placing a basic energy on it, this is really still second to that. So I'm gonna go with a barely effective, borderline not very effective, at least for me. What about you, Scrawn?
I like it a lot because, that reviving DNA ability it lets you stall into the late game. It sets up for some of the evolutions that require you to get to that late game. So this buys you a turn or two with that, because you can get down to 10 HP, then you just recover it all once you evolve. So I'm going to actually give it a super effective.
There we go. What about you, Sigma?
I think I'm giving it a super effective too. That the energy evolution Eevee is getting around to its time where it's going to rotate out. So,
and that was actually reprinted.
A year from now, though.
Half a year from now.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, so this is probably going to be the go-to for evolutions for Eevees at that point. So yeah, it's super effective. It's fine.
It might just be me, guys, but I'm pretty sure McDonald's released a set within the last set that has the energy evolution Eevee, so it's going to be around for 2 more years.
I believe that they still use the A on it, so it doesn't actually up the...
Oh, yeah, when they have the A, it means that it's reprint art style-wise, but the card itself wasn't reprinted.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which is annoying, but I believe that's the case here, so...
Yeah, it is. It's not rare. They do this. I mean, it is rare. They do this every once in a while. I remember Jolteon EX being reprinted the same way. I was super happy when I saw that Jolteon EX was going to be reprinted again, and then I realized, oh wait, it's a reprint A card, which means it's reprinted, as in this is a shiny new card, but in terms of the rules of the game, it's still the same old card you had when it was originally released, so it doesn't count as it extending its life in the TCG, in the meta. Okay, so there you guys. You got effective and 2 very super effective for EVGX. And then we're going to move on to the next one. Take it away, Scrawn.
Venusaur and Celebi GX. It is a 270 HP grass Pokemon. It's tag team, so of course if it gets knocked out, the opponent takes 3 prize cards instead of just 2. It has 3 attacks. It has each one requires, well, at least 1 grass, some require 2. The first one requires 1 grass and 2 colorless for pollen hazard. 50 damage, your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned, confused, and poisoned. And how annoying is that? It's like, oh, you basically have to switch out if you want to do anything.
You can, if you have a Goosebump in your hand, you just gonna have to play it.
Arguably, I'd always spam the first one rather than the second one even. The second one is Solar Beam for 2 grass and 2 colorless. It's 150 damage flat, no other effects. And you've got the GX attack, which is Evergreen GX. It is 2 grass, 2 colorless plus. Heal 180 damage. Heal all damage from this Pokemon. If this Pokemon has at least 1 extra grass energy attached to it, shuffle all cards from your discard pile into your deck. Wow. Yep. And a weakness of fire times 2. I like it.
What do you give this card?
I give it a super effective 100%. I think it's the second best in the set.
Okay. What about you, Sigma?
I think it's going to be the second best to play with. The fact that it probably needs the totem, whatever, Venusaur from Shining Legends is a little rough. And you're probably never using the first attack. But effective is good.
Yeah, I'll give it an effective as well. I'm not going to go as far as giving it a super effective, and I won't go as far as to say it's the second one either. I still think that Pikachu and Zekrom GX might be the second best GX in my honest opinion, but this is, for me, a good third place. It's a good tie between this and Gengar and Mimikyu. So I give it an effective.
I know we said it in the last episode as well, but that Evergreen GX theme on it, where you're literally going back in time because of Celebi, is so super cool, because you're shuffling all your cards back, you're healing all the damage. That's sweet.
I love it. So we have the last one. Sigma, take it away.
All right. Last thing we're talking about is a trainer call, or called Dangerous Drill. It's an item card, and you can play this card if you discard a dark Pokemon from your hand. Discard a Pokemon tool or special energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon, or discard any stadium in play. It's just versatile to deal with things that your opponent has.
Yeah, especially with Nanu too, because you can discard that dark Pokemon and then get it back with Nanu onto your Incineroar that you just played, while also hurting the opponent by discarding energy or tool cards or a stadium. It's super good.
Yep, it's a great card. What do you give this, Sigma?
It's versatile enough, but it only goes in dark decks, so... But it does really good with what it does, so super effective.
There you go. What about you, Stun?
Super effective.
Super effective as well.
100%.
Dangerous Drill is pretty dangerous. So, if you're planning to play Dark, you need this card in your deck, and there's no if, buts, or what ifs. Okay, so that brings the end of the review, which leaves the final part, and that final part is to talk about the overall set and what is your honest to good opinion on it. Let's start with Scrawn. I want to start with you because you have really big opinions about the set overall, and I want you to finish that thought and give me your overall. Of course, the review of the set is different. We're not going to say it's super effective. We're actually going to give it a 1 out of 10 review and how good this set you think it is. So go ahead, Scrawn. What do you give this from 1 to 10? How many Pokeballs are you going to give this set? Okay,
before I rate it, I want to explain just a little bit why.
Yes, please.
Celestial Storm was a great set, in my personal opinion. I think it was a great set to start with. It didn't have too many strong cards, but a lot of cards you can use throughout the season. Had also Hoenn-themed cards, primarily. When Lost Thunder, I was not a big fan of.
No one was. It's fine.
I didn't like it that much. Team Up has that perfect combination of, it's not limiting you too much. It's introducing opportunities for every playstyle. It has great theme, really cool art, really cool attacks. I am a bit salty that it keeps buffing up HP of Pokemon, and this is like to astronomical limits when it really shouldn't be. I miss the days when HP max was like 80. But overall, I'm gonna give this set 8.3 out of 10.
Okay, 8.3 is pretty high up there. What about you, Sigma?
So I'm not a huge fan of Tag Team GXs compared to Prism Stars of last year, or Ultra Beasts that were heavily focused on last year. So, and also I thought Lost Thunder was like a 10 out of 10 set. So
I was gonna say I just made a comment and I was gonna edit it out, but I really wanted to. I just made I said that no one liked Lost Thunder, but it's only because I got them mixed out with Dragon Majesty.
Oh yeah, nobody liked Dragon's Majesty.
Nobody liked Dragon Majesty.
Yeah.
Lost Thunder was actually a magnificent set, so I apologize about that.
There are two notable cards that
I
came
just
out of
don't like
Dragon's Majesty. And one of them was Quagsire. But yeah, I don't think this is anywhere near as strong as Lost Thunder was, but it probably will be influential because of how massive these HP numbers are getting and how strong the attacks have to get in order to combat that high HP. So I think I'm going to go with an 8.
Okay. That's fair. That's 8.3 and an 8 for that. And to continue on that theme, I think you both are right. It is in the 8 range. And I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8.5 because there is so much synergy that I see here. I see so many cards that will have an impact in the game that it's hard to ignore how much this is going to be in effect. It's not as good as Lost Thunder, but it is pretty powerful. And although Tag Team might be there, people are really on the fence with Tag Team cards. Some people think that they're going to be good. Some people think that they're just a waste of time. I think that they are going to make a big effect. Remember, this is the first set, and this is always something that I say with every single time they reveal a new mechanic, right? We saw this with EX when they were first introduced. We saw it with Mega Evolution when they were first introduced. We saw it with Break Cards when they were introduced. The first set is always going to be a little bit weak in the weak side, and people might still want to continue using the old school GX, in this case the GX, normal GX cards, because they might not see these tech teams to be actually good. But you never know. You never know the next set, well, they might actually improve on the tag team mechanic and make those tag team cards actually be really good. So that being said, 8.5 for this set, and I have to hand it to the Pokemon International, where they're giving us really good quality sets. It is good that we are in a time where there's more better sets than they are bad. It's easy to say like this set is really bad, but then the next two is really good. So kudos to them with that. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we did it. We just reviewed Tag Team or Team Up for the sets, and we like it. So let us know what you think in Discord. We're gonna open this discussion now. You guys might notice that we've gone already a few episodes without reading your email. I really want to apologize by not being able to read your emails on the show. We really do appreciate you reading. It's just that these shows since they're now once a month, they're going for really long, and of course nobody will gonna stay here and listen 2 hours of a show and then listen to Mailbag. So with that being said, we are thinking of what we're gonna do with mails from the TCG, so please don't think that we're not going to accept. But for now, we're gonna drop the emails until we figure out what's the best thing for you guys. So you guys are heard and you guys are being read on the show as well. Until then, this has been a magnificent episode, and I'm going to give my thanks to Scrawn. Thank you so much for being here today.
As always, it was my pleasure, and it's super fun to discuss with both of you, who are very knowledgeable about the game.
Always. And then thank you so much, Sigma.
It's been a great time.
It really has. And for those of you at home, if you like what you see here, what you heard here, remember it doesn't stop here. Our main flag show, Puckle Podcast, every Monday with Thatch. Make sure you do not miss that. And also we have other shows such as the Battlecast, the Game Corner, and other shows for you to listen to and enjoy. If you guys want to participate even more than just listening, go to our Discord where we have all sorts of chats, conversation, and more importantly, events for you to participate and win prizes and just overall get in touch. I know that I don't necessarily chat a lot in the Discord channel. My life is a little bit hectic right now, so it doesn't leave me a lot of opportunities, but know that I'm always at Jashiro Away. If you guys tag me on whatever comments and you want to talk to me directly, all you need to do is summon my name in Discord, and I shall appear and have a conversation with you. So please go ahead and remember that. And lastly, remember as well that we do have that Twitch channel. Every Monday, I'm going to be there trying new decks and just talking to you overall about my life and whatever is happening in not only Pokemon, but in nerd video game world. So if you want, just participate to a nice conversation, please go ahead and join me at Twitch TV every Monday. I'm going to be there. Lastly, you might already be listening to the guitar in the background, which means it's closing time. Ladies and gents, thank you so much for being here tonight. And remember,